This is Fob and Friends. 5 friends, 5 perspectives, all fun. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Fob and Friends. My name is Zane. Don't ask why. Don't just. I'll make you laugh. Don't ask why. Just put an I. And this week we have Amna.
Hey, I'm first.
Samra.
I'm lying down again.
Gossam.
I'm present.
Maz.
Hello.
And a very special guest, Jaani Disctotech from Nerdvana podcast.
Hi guys. How you doing?
I'm all thrown off now.
I know. I threw you off.
So, how's it, guys? How's everyone? How's everyone's week been? Good. Anything special happen?
I can't complain.
Our country's in turmoil. That's what's happening.
Summer, your voice was
interesting.
Summer, you seem very upset when you said I can't complain.
Well, I'm not upset. I'm just saying I can't complain.
Oh, all right. I just wanted to make sure.
Thanks, Maz. Thanks for checking in on me.
Of course.
Did you guys have fun on Pakistan's Independence Day on the 14th?
I went to work.
Ditto.
Oh,
Nothing at all.
nothing went on, honestly.
I didn't even post Independence Day stuff.
I didn't even
either.
I think I did. I'm the only one.
Yeah, you did, Amna.
Yeah.
I almost did, but then I decided that I don't really give a crap.
Yeah, that's valid.
Fob and Friends. Fob and Friends posted. We did post. As a Fob and Friends, we did post something, but we had to, of course.
Yeah.
Give it a shout out.
Speaking of which, sorry, Mike. Go.
No, yeah, I was watching the march on Quaid-e-Azam's grave or tomb on GOTV. It was pretty interesting.
Wow, you're so patriotic.
I'm Joe the August, full on.
I thought about posting a selfie, but then I looked and I didn't have any, and I had the only Pakistan TBT pictures I had sucked. So I was like, and whatever.
Yeah.
No, you have some good pictures. But anyway.
I don't have anything good about Independence Day, though. I don't think a Pakistani flag. You gotta have the flag. You can't be like, yo, Pakistan, no flag.
Yeah, that's true. You gotta have some sort of green and white in there.
White.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta rep.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, I just felt like it's weird to be celebrating, very happily when we're not straight up Pakistani, straight up, and also when our own country is in turmoil, and we're Happy Independence Day, woohoo! By the way, Nazis are marching.
By the way, you don't have a president, Pakistan, right now.
Yeah.
Well, that too.
There's no prime minister. I mean.
Well, you know what? It's not like we have much of a president here either. So,
Dang.
Zing.
Let's quickly pivot from that. So no, I thought it was so funny that this was totally not planned out, but in totally quote unquote was planned out, that how awesome our timing was from last week's episode, because it was only until when Amna posted all those things on Instagram and on the Facebook page when I realized, oh wow, we just so happened to talk about Pakistan on our episode last week, and it happened to fall on top of Pakistan Independence Day, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. We didn't even realize that.
Subconsciously, we were like, all right, Joe the August is coming, so we need to make an episode about representing Pakistan.
Yeah.
You can't forget next time. Next time, you gotta be prepared even more.
Yeah.
Not just, you can't be lucky next time.
Next time we'll talk about... Yeah.
You gotta do March 23rd, so our other sister, that's the only one that's of their family that's not here, her birthday is on March 23rd, which is Quaid-e-Azam Day or something, or Pakistan Day.
Yeah.
It's another special Pakistani holiday. right? So
we need to have her as a special
remember
guest
that.
for that.
We need a special guest for Pakistan Day.
Well,
He's also coming on for Halloween.
Yep.
Oh, we'll make that happen.
Oh snap! I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's gonna be
Gonna
an
ha-
interesting episode.
That's way in the future, though.
Yeah.
We're talking 2 months here, people.
That's gonna be the scariest episode yet.
Yep.
And there's
I
been some
agree.
scary episodes. Like our halal versus haram has been a pretty scary episode.
See, you know what's so funny
A
about
lot
that
of
episode?
controversy.
It's funny because, like, we had those 2 bleeps that I've done, and I thought it was funny because those were the only 2 controversial things that we thought was controversial. But I didn't realize until now that there's a lot of other things that we talked about on that episode that were controversial.
Let's pivot. Let's pivot.
Let's pivot. Let's quickly pivot.
Great episode. I wish I was on that episode. But today's episode is about something else.
Yes, today's episode is about unsolved mysteries. It's because, like, all of us, we all love a good murder mystery. It's always fun to kind of dive in and talk and question about how someone died and how much whatever. So yeah, we decided to kind of theme an entire episode on that. And so we're gonna, I think we all, but me, Samra, and Amna, we all have a story, and we're all gonna just kind of share it and see, kind of react on it, basically.
What you guys think? I do want to say something though. We don't love murders or people's death stories
Yeah.
or anything like that. It's just these are interesting unsolved mysteries.
I know what you're talking about because I'm a big fan of SVU, Criminal Minds. I like murder.
I like
I feel like we all have an interest of some type of scary thing. It could be paranormal, or it could be something murder wise. We all have an interest with that, which is great, and I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm the weirdest about it though. I'm like, I get creepy about it.
Well, we just
Summer, you did like Bones.
Yeah, but Bones wasn't it was it was different. It wasn't
Summer,
Every
no, it was
episode had a mystery.
It was different.
Bones was one of the typical shows that was a murder mystery show, episodic in that way. And so is Criminal Minds, and it's Summer. You liked Criminal Minds too when you watched it with me.
Yeah, but you know what about Bones and Criminal Minds, I guess, is also like that, is that they try to find the bad guys, and then they do in most of them.
Well, that's the whole point of a good mystery, right? You're trying to find and solve some issue, and that issue, in your case, in these cases, is the good guy versus bad guy, but they're just other interesting cases.
Right. Well, I mean, yes, in this case, yes, that's exactly what this murder mystery is. Not that we are enjoying talking about their deaths, though.
No,
Shane
I'm not
said.
sitting here being like, yeah, they got
We want to know so we can get the bad guy, right? We want
Wait.
justice.
Before we get into these mysteries, are these mysteries that you guys are going to talk about all solved, or are they unsolved?
Unsolved.
Well, mine's
Mine's
unsolved.
Okay, cool.
And mine is unsolved.
All right, well then we're talking about unsolving mysteries then.
But one more thing before we start.
One
more
more.
thing before we start. I know because it was such a last minute thing that, Jaani. I'll edit that out.
I can do my real name.
Yeah,
I'm
move
hanging
that
out
out,
with my
guys.
siblings.
Jaani.
I'm hanging out with my siblings and cousins. I can be my real name today.
No, I just want you to kind of chill a little bit, talk about your little podcast quickly, and then we can, because it's
Shell.
Oh, okay. Go to Nerdvana NYC or find us on iTunes and Google, and you can listen to me and one of my very good friends, Patty Cakes, talk about ridiculous nerdy things. How about that?
Our mate.
That was perfect.
Cash me outside. How about that?
Well, there you go. So let's get this started. So I guess I'm gonna go first, right? So okay. So the title of this is called "The Death of Kendrick Johnson." Johnson.
Already messed up, Zan.
Before you start, Zan, let's not interrupt you until we get the summary down,
Okay.
so then we can ask questions. So
Thanks, Moz.
just trying to make this a little organized right here.
Thanks for that interruption.
True.
I have natural breaks in between the stories, so in those breaks, you guys can kind of comment or whatever. So, This happened on January 10th, 2013. So it's a very recent case. Yeah, very recent, and it's like I said, it is unsolved, so no one knows. There's a lot of theories out there. There's a lot of people who think that knows what happens, but who knows, really, So this happened in a high school called Lowndes High School in Valdosta, Georgia, which is a town more closer to Tallahassee than it is to Atlanta, Georgia. Okay. This school has two gyms. It has an old gym and a new gym, right? So something similar to what me, Maz, and Gossam had in our school, where we had an old gym and a new gym.
Yep.
The same thing, same concept, right? So several large wrestling mats were in permanent storage in a corner of the gym. A few of the mats were stored upright, rolled, and standing. These mats were 6 feet tall and about 3 feet wide. Many students, including the death of Kendrick Johnson, the star of the story, I guess, used these rolled up mats as storage for their things to avoid paying locker fees. Don't ask why. During the Christmas break,
Just
like it just doesn't make any sense why you would use a rolled up mat as a storage, but okay, whatever. During the Christmas break, many more wrestling mats were added to the collection in the gym. This high school also operated on a block schedule, so classes and times differ on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, like any other really high school out there, right?
Not
Not
mine,
yours?
not mine,
Oh.
but okay.
No, we do. We have block schedules: A, B, C, D.
Yeah,
E.
but it's always the same.
Oh, that's true. You're right. Okay, but no, doesn't matter. That doesn't.
This
do
high
you mean?
school's kind of
Doesn't
weird
matter.
already. This high school's already
we'll
kind
talk
of weird.
offline about that one.
So about 1:30 p.m. on Thursday, January 10th, the school's video surveillance cameras captured Kendrick Johnson walking into the old gym. No one followed him. No one else walked into the gym with him. And it was the only other person that walked in the gym happened 3 minutes after he had entered the gym. Okay. He was retrieving a pair of shoes he and another student stored in the mats. Kendrick shared these shoes with the other student, with each boy taking turns wearing them and returning them to the same mat. I know it's kind of weird, but whatever. On this particular Thursday, Kendrick's previous accessible mat was now behind several new mats that was recently bought that I mentioned before. But for some reason, a few hours later, Kendrick was marked absent from his next class that he had. He was expected to return home after a freshman-based basketball game that evening, but he failed to come home, and his mother reported him missing that midnight. The very next day, Friday, Kendrick's mother, Jackie, went into the school informing that her son was missing. Administration assisted her by printing out missing people flyers and kind of making everyone know that, this guy is missing. At about 10:30 that morning, a few female students were sitting on a They were sitting next to one of these mats, filling out a survey of some sort, right? They noticed socks sticking out of one of these mats. Thinking that it was a joke, a student climbed the bleachers to look inside and saw the body of Kendrick Johnson. He tried to pull him out, but it was unable to, and a student called 911 using a cell phone. With this help of a teacher, the student knocked over the mat and pulled out Kendrick headfirst, but the smell of decomposition and a presence of blood and vomit gave him the conclusion that he was definitely dead. The school went
Not just him being like, okay, continue.
No, he was dead.
Why didn't they smell that earlier? I don't. Okay.
Listen, this is what the story has given me. So, the school went into lockdown, and Jackie Johnson, the mother, was informed that a body has been found, and Kendrick Johnson has been dead in an inverted position for almost 24 hours.
What does inverted mean?
Basically, what happened? So the way they found his body was that he was head first into these mats. His leg was sticking out on the top, and his head was.
That's right.
They saw the socks, right?
I thought they saw it like coming, maybe sticking out from the bottom for some reason.
No, he was dead inverted, as in like he was dead upside down. Okay, so someone clearly. I'll explain later, but we can talk about it.
How did they put him
I'll
in?
explain
But
later.
okay.
I'll explain later, right?
I mean, I guess.
So in November, so this was roughly maybe 6 months later, right? Surveillance after I'm assuming they didn't give me much details, but I'm assuming they were investigating this story. So in November, surveillance tapes were released to CNN investigators. 2 of the cameras are missing footage. One is missing an hour and 5 minutes of footage, and the other was missing 2 hours and 10 minutes of footage. The cameras are motion activated and did not cover the place where Kendrick died. The footage shows him walking towards the mat at around 1 p.m., and then nothing else until the next frame where kids are playing basketball in the same gym. During the following investigation by police, more information was discovered around the rolled up mats where Johnson's they found schoolwork and a folder and a science textbook that belonged to Kendrick Johnson that was next to these mats that I was mentioning before. Along one of the walls was also blood splatter. In the girls' restroom on the walls was blood splatter, and in the girls' restroom of the gym, there was paper towels covered in blood that was in the trash. The shoes that he was wearing was found tucked inside the mat along with his legs, right? So, like, what I mean by that was, like, when he was inverted, the shoes was kind of stuffed in next to his, like, basically where his pockets would be, or where his thighs would be. They kind of stuffed it in there when he died, right? The shoes that he was wearing was found, so the shoes that he was wearing was found tucked along in the mat alongside his legs. There was also a pair of Adidas shoes on the scene with one outside the mat and one matching the shoe under his head inside the mat. So, to further explain, there was a pair of Adidas shoes that did not belong to him. There was one outside of the mat and one that was near his head. Mind you, this is under his head, yeah. So mind you, because it was inverted, so underneath his head. The most strange thing about it was that the shoe under Kendrick's head had a blood pooling around it, but none of it was on anything else but that one shoe. There was no other blood coming from him, right? So one would logically think that it was just because his head was bleeding that it dripped onto the shoe, but we don't know. Yeah. So then blah blah blah. So sorry, I'm just trying to skim through my notes here. Then comes the investigation into some of the suspects that was also weird. Brandon Bell and his minor brothers, unreleased names because they were underage, is an FBI agent who hired a lawyer and instructed his children to not to speak to the police, and they were the only students to refuse an interview. 2 years before Kendrick's death, he allegedly got into a fight with this younger brother that is unnamed. However, Brandon's alibi is that he was at a wrestling tournament in another city, so there's no proof when they left. They claim they left around 1 p.m. while Kendrick entered the gym at around 1:09 p.m. to be exact. But the school bus logs the school bus logs show that the bus they were on didn't leave until 4 p.m. On the other hand, the wrestling coach's cell phone records show that the team was in a different city at 1:53 p.m., meaning they were on the road by the time Kendrick was inside the mat. But what makes it more confusing is that Brandon was weighed in at the tournament, what's even more confusing is that Brandon was weighed in at the tournament, but the weigh-in wasn't scheduled to begin until 4 p.m. So there's a lot.
So he weighed in
Brandon
early.
claims that he was weighed in early, but the event and the school says that this actually happened at 4 p.m. So he
claims he was weighing in, but
correct,
the weigh-in was way later.
Even more odd is that Brandon was seen crisscrossing in the hallway in front of the old gym when Kendrick was shown on the surveillance recording earlier that day. So
what's crisscrossing?
Okay, well,
so
then
like he was
that's
like
false.
basically walking from one end to the wall to another and just crisscrossing on the hallway, right? So it kind of validates the fact that Brandon was clearly lying, right? But he was caught on camera,
he was
right?
caught on
He was caught on
camera,
camera. He was shown he was in front of the hallway. But like I said, he claims that he wasn't there. But obviously that's a lie. He claims that he didn't do anything, but we don't know, right? So that's basically the end of like what I have. So what do you guys think? So before I go into the questions that I have presented, a lot of this is kind of like, I feel like a lot of this is just a lot of just like, oh yeah, he did this and we did that and that happened and that happened, but what do you think?
Okay, I have a question. Did they find a cause of death?
The cause of death.
What was the cause of death?
So, which is even, it's funny that you said that because I forgot to say that he died of blunt force trauma. Technically, when the autopsy was done, right? They found out that it was blunt force trauma that he suffered on his head. Yes, but what was even stranger was that the examiner, the guy who was doing the autopsy, was really dodgy when it came to his practice, you know? So the reason why I say that is because when he got the body, the examiner claimed that there was missing organs, that there was missing clothing, it wasn't the first examiner, it was the second examiner that found out that it was a blunt force trauma. The first examiner completely didn't even realize that there was a blunt force trauma that he suffered at all.
Wait, so was there missing organs?
So the second examiner...
yeah, there was missing organs. When they buried the body, when he buried the guy's body, they buried it without the organs because they... Yeah, sorry.
They couldn't find it?
What it sounds like is that the first medical examiner was weird and he didn't put the organs back or something. And then they sent it to the second one. So why was the first medical examiner so unprofessional with his job and he couldn't even find a cause of death, which was obviously blunt force trauma?
Yeah.
Then, right?
And so where'd you say the blood spatter was?
That's a really good.
So the blood splatter was on the wall of the gym. So where the mats were placed, or where he died, there was blood splatter. Maybe I'm just guessing, but like I would assume it would be on the wall closest to the mats, right?
Okay, and where was he hit?
We're assuming he got hit in the head, but we don't know because this is unsolved. No one knows. No one knows.
This
exactly
is a homicide.
Wait, what did the medical examiner say?
The examiner says he got hit on the head.
That's what we know. But like,
are they calling this a homicide? What are they calling it? A suicide, homicide? What is it?
The examiner
it's not a suicide,
actually
no
it's
way.
funny enough. The examiner claimed that this was an accident. The first examiner, he claimed that it was an accident. Yes.
See, this is why I asked that question.
Yeah. So one of the questions. Sorry, let me just say this though. One of the questions that a person brought up onto this the thread that I was reading, one of the questions was, how could Kendrick accidentally fall headfirst into something, into a mat like that, when clearly afterwards, after we find out that he had head trauma, how could you have accidentally fell into it? Someone must have put him in there. Someone must have hit him clearly and killed him and stuffed his body into these mats. But
well, obviously, yeah.
Obviously.
Well, my thing is like, let's say he fell in, right? Where did all the blood come from? Like, if he fell into the mat, right? Why was there blood in the girl's bathroom and like on the wall? Like, there wouldn't.
So the manner of death was by.
Well, technically,
no, that's cause of death. Manner of death was homicide.
So basically, they're suggesting that whatever shenanigans are going on, he maybe as like a joke, he jumped in or he like climbed over and went head first into the mat, fell in, hit his head, and died. But Summer's right, there wouldn't be any blood splatter. And why would there be towels in the trash, like paper towels full of blood in the trash? If how would you reach under and try and clean the blood where his head fell? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and you know what? Also, one thing that people also were talking about was that how did his shoes come off? Right? Because it's like, if you think about it, if you're falling head first into it, right? How could your shoes have fall off? If you were, other than you trying to force yourself out of the mat, maybe he's kind of stuck himself and maybe he was trying to pull himself out of it. That makes sense. But as I said in the story, one of the shoes was stuffed inside the mat with him. So
didn't he used to hide his stuff, like the shoes and stuff, inside the mats?
Yes, but like I said, when he was. The shoe was next to his essentially his butt, basically, where when he was head first, they stuffed the shoe afterwards.
Yeah, because his shoes wouldn't have been like they wouldn't have been that stuffed in basically if he had done it. Like they would have been more close to his ankles. Let's say even if he had taken his shoes off, or his calves or something. But what I find interesting is the vomit.
Also, yeah, like I said, there was vomit present. There was also decomposition because obviously he was in there for 24 hours basically.
He was in there, right?
Exactly.
So his like proteins had degraded at that point. It was like seeping.
So, was there any other like DNA found around the area, or was it just?
See, I don't have that information. All I know was that the only source of DNA that they had was from that wall splatter and from the trash can, and that was
which was Brandon's or
was
whatever.
his.
Not Brandon's.
That was
sorry,
obviously
whatever
his
name is.
blood.
And you said that that there's a period of time that the security cameras
because the
did not catch
security
that,
cameras
right?
were motion activated, so I guess they didn't detect, they didn't detect the motion or something. So for an hour and a half, they're out of range.
Or
So
they
for
were
a
out of
good
range.
hour or two, there was nothing recorded.
I want to know what's up with that kid and his dad, the other kid.
Yeah, his FBI agent father or brother.
Yeah, clearly they're definitely involved. I mean, like
They lied straight up and said he said that he was gone, but
why would
everything.
they be the only ones for
Not
because of a bullying thing or something fight that happened 2 years previous? They went and they got like a lawyer and everything. Like there's something else going on.
Yeah, and you said that you also said that the first examiner said that this was an accident, right? Yeah, so then there's definitely something involved saying like, and like the FBI, that brother is trying to hide it or something like that.
So-
I don't know how to really like.
The first examiner is shady because he didn't put his organs back in.
Yeah.
And he said it was like an accident, which maybe he can't. Maybe they ruled it an accident,
Yeah,
but
it
I
should
feel
have
like they
been
shouldn't have ruled it anything because you can't prove it wasn't right. Because you can't prove if there's not enough evidence, you can't prove that it was homicide. But you also can't prove
one of
it
the
was an
questions that I
accident.
also came across when I was reading this was one person commented saying, "How was his autopsy botched so badly? Missing organs, missing clothing, complete disregard for the obvious blunt force trauma he suffered. Where did his organs and clothing go? And how did the first examiner miss such clear injuries?" And I mean, it's a good question to pull up because it's like no one really understands how that actually happened either, because it's
were there cuts in his body and stuff?
No, as far as I know, there was nothing that I came across that said that there was any cuts in his body.
So then how were there no organs?
There might have been defense.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
assuming.
I mean, there were
I'm
cuts
assuming
from
when he
the
says missing
examiner,
organs and
sure.
missing clothing, I'm assuming it's the examiner who did that.
Well, if there wasn't any defensive wounds that they mentioned, then I mean there might have been defensive wounds and you just didn't read it. But then maybe he knew the person and didn't feel like they would attack.
Yeah.
Maybe they attacked from behind or something. You know what I mean? Maybe it was a blitz attack, and then the dude freaked out
Right.
and stuffed him into the mat
Yeah,
and tried to clean it up with the towels.
Yeah, there's definitely something fishy going
Brendan
on with
Bell
the brother, though.
and his
I think there's
younger
something
brother
going on.
and his FBI agent father that he had.
Definitely. That's
Right,
just,
right. There it is.
Like,
Gotta
FBI
cover it.
agent that they had, like what? And then they denied every type of interview too. Come on, like.
Is this still an ongoing case? Because it seems like one, it happened recent, and two, like, I just feel like it's shoddy police work if they haven't even tried to
Yeah.
find more evidence on this dude. Obviously,
Well,
the
that's-
dad has some
That's
pull.
What?
the way things are in a lot of.
This is just a crazy theory. What if the FBI agent, that the father, he told the first examiner to be like not to be sketchy, but like to not release some information that he actually found? Because
No, that's
he only said it was an accident. Like there could be so much more within that accident. What if there was so much more information they're not revealing because of the FBI father saying something to the examiner? I don't know.
It could be people.
It could. I mean, that's just a theory, which is
I think your theory is right, and I'm going to build on it, that the FBI father has connections and is trying to stall this case, and he's hiding things. This is a theory. This is me and Maz's theory at this point.
Because it clearly states that they denied any type of interview, too. Like,
They were
sketchy.
Out of everyone that they
Why?
interviewed,
What do you have to...
Brendan
Well,
Bell, his brother, and the father were the only people that refused to do the interview.
No, okay, this is... Alright, we just solved this case. Can we just... We just solved it.
Call it a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's interesting, though. So it just kind of... It's one of those things where it's like...
Alright.
Well, like I said, it's still open. It's still unresolved. No one knows who did it. And I mean, I'm assuming they are still doing investigations about it. Yeah.
No one
But
wants
it
to
is
admit
very
who
strange
did it. How about
for
that?
someone to die like that immediately and kind of happen in the...
Very, very strange.
Well, the way he was found is...
You know what's even more
creepy? The fact
creepy
that
is
he was
because
inverted.
of the fact that this was
Weird.
more recent than the other cases that we're going to talk about. There is video evidence of this guy being stuffed. Well, I shouldn't say being stuffed, but like him being inside the mat. So there is one video on YouTube. I'm not going to link it, but if you're interested, look into it. There is a video on YouTube of this student who actually recorded Kendrick inside the mat. I'm assuming after he died, obviously, but like it's such a strange video too, because that's another whole conspiracy theory, because the guy who recorded this video, their gym was completely empty. It's not like there was police tape on, or there was like police officers coming around. This was a completely empty gym, and this kid is recording Kendrick, the poor lifeless body of Kendrick Johnson, inside this mat, being like, "Hey, look at this. This is what happened." Showing his socks, showing the folder that I mentioned, the textbook that I mentioned. He didn't show the blood splatter, but he showed all of this. But it's like, how? Like, when did he record this? When did this happen?
Wait, they put this on YouTube?
It's on YouTube. Yep.
They didn't demonetize it? Like what?
They're making profits over it. I don't know. It's on YouTube though, so if you guys are interested, you could. Yeah.
They probably aren't allowed because it's an open case. You can't like.
Very
so
interesting.
The case
Very
of Kendrick and Brendan Bell is unsolved.
Unsolved.
Dun, dun, dun.
Unsolved.
Thank you.
I
I mean, I could
Someone's
work on my storytelling skills, but yeah.
You're a little. There's a little bit of stuttering, but it's good. It's all right.
But yeah. It seems pretty
That was a
obvious,
quick
and that's
one,
what I
though.
was
Not many
saying
theories,
before.
but
Like,
it
it
just seems
seems
pretty
pretty
obvious.
obvious of what happened, but the fact that everyone is denying everything, that's why it's still unsolved to this day.
We're definitely missing something still. I mean, like, I also think it's kind of weird that like the cameras didn't go off. I feel like it's kind of planned. Because
The school was in on it,
No.
or the FBI was in on it and cut it out?
No, not the school. I'm saying like.
You never know.
I'm saying, maybe, like, exactly, like.
Small town America. He was in the wrestling team.
What type of town was it?
No,
Was this,
well,
like,
it was in
mainly,
Georgia,
like,
so
like,
I don't.
gay?
Or like.
No.
No, I mean that could be like a reason why people people.
I don't.
He was in the basketball team. As far as I know, he was a part of a basketball team. He also was doing weightlifting classes in the school, and he was. I'm assuming he was really heavily into sports. And Kendrick Johnson, he was black, but I mean, I don't think that has to do with anything really, other than the fact that
No, yeah, really.
I didn't explain.
I mean,
I
was
didn't go into that
Brandon
into
white?
detail, but
Or the dude?
Well, I just find it very sketchy that like, I think this was planned because like, if the cameras go off by motion sensor, the person who killed this kid definitely knew that, and they definitely walked or did something in a way that to not cause the camera to record, because obviously it was in the gym. They did something, and I think it's the father. I'm telling you, it's the father.
He
and I feel like he
tampered
may
with
have
it.
tampered with
Definitely
the examiner as well.
motion-censored
Like, just
cameras.
tell him that, just throw away the organs. Not that, like,
Yeah,
it matters. Just
of
throw it
course.
away. No problem.
Like, and like we're shying away from the fact that like The FBI has so much power. They could easily influence what goes on with evidence, autopsies, all that types of of stuff that's not disclosed. So like, yeah, well, great pick.
All the FBI agent would have had to do is call the local sheriff and say, "This is the deal," and that's it.
Exactly.
And they would have been like, "Yes, sir."
He wouldn't get the FBI involved. He'd just be like, "I work for the FBI."
I just love the fact that the dad happens to be an FBI agent.
Yeah.
Just like out of everything, the one person that they wanted to interview is the one guy that happens to be an FBI agent. So it's like, yeah.
Or his son is the FBI agent, or his son. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, crap.
The
All
death
right.
of Kendrick
Whoa,
Johnson.
that's very crazy story.
Aw, well, R.I.P.
Take
Do
me
it.
back to the
All right.
1940s.
My case going in.
Go in.
All right. We're going back to the 1940s,
Oh,
people.
I love it.
This case is
Hey.
called "Who Put Bella in the Wych Elm." So this case originated in 1943, okay, where 4 boys, local boys in England, in the Hagley Woods in Worcestershire, England. I can't say that word, so can someone do it? Worcestershire.
Worcester?
I don't know.
Worcestershire.
No, don't say it the Boston way.
Worcestershire.
Worcester?
Worcester.
Worcestershire.
We gotta say this.
Worcester?
Worcestershire. That's it, Zan. Yeah, Worcester. Wow.
It's not Worcester, Massachusetts.
Okay, so in England, all right. So, guys, history lesson. What was happening in 43 in England
The two.
at this
War
time?
number theme.
The two.
World War II. Okay, because that comes into play with this and one of the theories. Okay, so 4 boys, Robert Hart, Thomas Willits, Bob Farmer, and Fred Payne, were poaching in Hagley Woods. So basically they were like looking, well, they were poaching, but they were also looking for, hunting for nests, like bird nests. I don't know. That was a thing they probably did because they didn't have anything fun to do. So they were like, let's go look for nests.
It's before the bar was invented.
So, well, they're young boys. They weren't going to go to the bar. Well, maybe who knows? But
England in
you're
1940.
right. You're right. They were, instead of smoking a cig, they were poaching. So they try to find birds' nests, and they climb this tree. So the tree is obviously a wych elm. What a name, too. And they climb, and they look, and they see, and they're climbing up, and I guess the tree, there was like it was like a hollow tree. It was like dead.
Yeah.
So you could look inside if you climbed up high enough. You know what I'm trying to say? So they look inside the tree, and farmer, Bob Farmer.
Bob Farmer?
He
Is that his
glanced
name?
inside. Bob, that's his name. That's his
It's not
real
Farmer
name.
Bob. Farmer?
It's not Farmer Bob. It's Bob Farmer. Okay. He climbed in. He glanced down into the trunk and saw a skull. Okay.
Okay.
So the skull had like a patch of skin on it and hair tufted out and everything. And at first, Farmer thought it was an animal, but then saw human hair and teeth, which was the hair, and he was like, yo, this is a human skull. And they were on the land illegally, by the way. This was part of an estate, and they were in these woods, and they were in there illegally. So they were like, yo, let's get out of here, okay? They like supposedly made this pact. They were like, we're never gonna talk about this, okay? But the youngest one, Tommy Willits, he was like uneasy, so he told his dad. His dad called the police.
Tommy.
Yeah. Tommy. Call the police. They go check the trunk of this tree, and they found almost a complete skeleton, okay? With one shoe, a gold wedding ring, and some fragments of clothing, okay? After further investigation, the remains of a hand were found some distance from the tree. So the hand was, they don't know, either it was severed post-mortem or ante-mortem during that they were alive, but I don't know. They don't know. So the body was sent to forensic examination by a Professor James Webster, and he quickly established that it was a female that was dead. And she's been dead for at least 18 months. Okay, placing time of death. Placing time of death in October
How
of
good was
1941.
forensic evidence back in the day?
Okay. They also
1941, but the story.
I mean, they probably they could tell rate of decomposition.
It's pre-DNA, but this is 1941 is when the body died, but it's 1943 when they find it.
Right, so it's been 18 months. So probably the beginning of right because they found it in January.
Right.
All right. Okay. So they also found a section of taffeta in her mouth.
What's taffeta?
Taffeta is a type of material. So it's like what the old dresses were made out of. You know, like the old, it's like woven fabric and like gowns and dresses were made out of them. So suggesting that she had died from suffocation. Suggesting that she had died. Because that comes back into theories later too. Also from measuring the trunk, they discovered that she must have been put there, in quotes, while she was still warm after the killing.
Oh.
So she could not have fit once rigor mortis had taken over. So once her body got stiff, they wouldn't have been able to stick her into the trunk. So she was warm. They just killed her, they just put her in. Okay. So they tried to like put out like, you know, a missing persons. Obviously this isn't as advanced, but they're trying to put it out. Like, does anyone know who this woman is? No one came forward. But I also want to point out it was World War II, so identification was seriously hampered because a lot of people were reported missing, and it was kind of like chaos was going on.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like they could properly do that. So, they say police could tell from the items found with the body what the woman had looked like. So maybe there was pictures. I don't know, but they don't really go in on it. But no proper identification could take place. And plus, there was no DNA. There was no dental records. There was no... I don't even think fingerprints were even a thing at this point. Maybe they were. I don't know. So it was, like, unknown. So this is where the theories come in. Who killed this woman? Why was she in the tree? Also, sorry, I forgot a really big thing was that a year later, after they found the body, graffiti started showing up saying, "Who put Bella in the wych elm?"
What?
Right. So it was found on like just different statues and monuments and all of that.
So they don't actually have identified who the real person was, or did they?
They didn't. But then graffiti came up saying, "Who put Bella in the wych elm?" Suggesting either someone knew what was going on or they were just trying to mess. But the reason why Bella's important comes later too, because it's like, how would you know the name? You know what I mean? So
what if that's just not a name? It just means Bella, like pretty.
Sketchy.
Yeah,
maybe.
what if they're just saying Bella, right?
It just
Or
seemed,
like that was a nickname.
but then someone knows who this girl is.
Well, obviously somebody knows who it is.
But no one came forward.
Her hand was severed. That doesn't happen in a tree.
She was murdered. That was obvious. So it's unlike the first case with Zan. Like they're like, maybe it's an accident. She was murdered. So the first theory.
They just don't know who this person who put the graffiti is, because clearly they know something.
Right. And it doesn't look like a child wrote it. I'll send you pictures. It looks like it doesn't look like a kid. Anyway, so the first possibility of what happened came in 1953, okay? So
10 years later.
basically 10 years later, comes from a statement made from the police by an Una Masip. Okay?
Una Thurman?
Uma Thurman, yes. Una Masip saying that her cousin Jack had confessed to family members that he and a Dutchman named Van Ralt had put the woman in the tree. Supposedly they all like met for drinks in some pub. So pubs were a thing, Kasha. And like the girl got really drunk and passed out, and they put her in a hollow tree, hoping in the morning she'd wake up.
What?
And be frightened by the
She had a
error of
severed
her
hand.
ways. Okay. Right. Also, he allegedly complained that the woman haunted him in his dreams for years and was admitted into the asylum in Stafford where he died. So where the theory kind of lets up, in my opinion, is why'd you come 10 years later saying this?
Perhaps.
Like, also...
Yeah, sometimes, like...
Who died?
He died before the body was found.
Oh,
too.
Okay.
Jack Mossop, the dude who said that he put the girl... So he was in the mental hospital before. And then died in the hospital.
1943?
Before she was found in the tree. Okay, not before she died, obviously, if he did do it. But
no, but that's what I'm saying. Before 1943,
he was put in the hospital and died.
Found in 1943.
Right. So it took her 10 years. It's not like he was alive and then she was hearing him say things and then came forward. Mm-hmm. He died and already had confessed earlier, and then 10 years later she comes. And the case was extremely popular in the area.
She as in the sister.
The cousin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, because it's like, I mean, you can easily just think that, oh, it's probably them. But, I mean,
right.
you have other theories, though, right?
Right. Yeah. It wasn't proven that this was obviously the person who did it because the guy died before saying anything. But that's one theory, and that's like a credible theory. But then, this is where it gets weird. So in So 2 years after the murder happened, another Professor Margaret Murray came in to investigate. And she saw the hand bones being scattered around, and she was like, this is a ritualistic murder. So she thought this person was like sacrificed or something.
Oh.
And the press supposedly loved this theory, but then nothing kind of... Okay, the press loved this theory, especially because supposedly a local man from a nearby village, Charles Watson, was found pinned to the ground with a pitchfork, murdered.
Ah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Completely unrelated, but the press related the two, and were like, oh, there's ritualistic murders that are happening. Okay? But there was nothing that really came up with it, so I feel like that theory is debunked.
Yeah, I mean, because
it's like nothing else came out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's sketchy, but it's like, yeah,
That's
what
sketchy.
more can you, kind of go about...
The hand is the one thing that's like weird, yeah. Okay, and so the last theory comes in 1968, this writer named Donald McCormick. Do any of you know this writer? No?
I've heard of him.
No, I don't.
No, you
No,
do
you
not.
don't.
Okay, well, there it is. He was revisiting both those murders for his book called Murder by Witchcraft, okay? He claimed, out of the blue, that Bella was a Nazi spy and an occultist named Clara Bella, also known as Clara.
Whoa.
Okay.
What is that from?
That's a Big Brother
Clara
reference.
Bella Dupree. Oh my god. Okay, moving on. So he claimed that she was a spy. She landed in the West Midlands in 1941 by parachute by the Germans, like she was parachuted by the Germans, but never made contact and was lost in 1941. Okay? The year she was supposedly murdered. Okay.
Theory.
No, there's more, okay? So, there's no way that this author had access to these records yet. They weren't released at the time, okay? So, years later, MI5 files came out that this Gestapo agent, okay, Gestapo meaning like the police, the German Nazi police, Gestapo agent named Joseph Jacobs, was arrested in Cambridgeshire in 41 as well, parachuting. And Jacobs had a picture in his hand when he was arrested, because he was arrested on site, of a German actress and singer named Clara Beruhl. Okay?
Oh.
And he claimed they were lovers and that she was also a secret agent. Like, she was a famous actress and singer that was also a secret agent, like high intelligence with the Nazis, and claimed
in that movie.
Like in that movie. like what is it?
Inglorious
His
bastard.
bastards. Right. He claimed that she parachuted into the Midlands but didn't make contact.
Wow.
Just like the author did years prior.
Well.
So, nothing came out of it. They're like, is this the woman? Because Donald McCormick said it was
Maybe
this
he
woman.
did it.
But how would he have known that if their
You
files
never
weren't
know. It could
released?
be.
Maybe he
My
was
whole thing-
paid.
Right. My whole thing is that, yeah, maybe he was paid. They still don't know who murdered her. And
Yeah,
if
because
she
that was my
a
thing. It's like
spy,
if
then
she,
why would
like,
they
if
have
she was
cut
a
off
spy
her
and
hand and
she,
stuffed her
you
in
know,
a tree?
parachuted into this country or England, right? Why would she go right into the tree and have her hand cut off? You know, it's like, what happened in between then?
Well, like, she was murdered and put into a tree, right? If she was found, let's say in 1941, she parachuted into the Midlands and she was found, didn't make
I wouldn't
contact.
have arrested her like they did the guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless
Unless.
it was because it was when
41.
1940 is when she parachuted in.
And when she died. The lady in the tree
Well, so
died.
nobody can find that actress anymore?
Interesting.
Interesting.
Got you.
Well, wait, what do you mean she disappeared? Like, she
Actresses,
disappeared afterwards?
she
Like,
disappeared.
when the story was breaking out?
No, after the parachute.
Oh.
The actress, she parachuted in.
Oh, I forgot.
Right,
she
her
was-
and her
okay.
dude, both Nazi
Forgot
spies,
she was also a spy.
parachuted
Yeah.
into England. One made
Oh.
right. She just so happened.
She wasn't really an actress.
Well, she was, but she also was a spy.
Wait, Summer, she was.
She was not really an actress.
She also had a wedding ring. Her and her Jacob.
It's like in Inglorious Bastard. She was both.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
No,
What
I
is
know,
it?
but like not
What do you
really.
mean?
An actress.
She was an actress.
Yeah.
She wasn't in Bollywood, so she's not a real actress.
She's just like they're just like pretending to be an actress so they can do their real work, which is
No,
spy
they get
work.
paid by being an actress, but they're being forced to be spies. Back in the day, like they were like, "You gotta work for us," or we're like,
Well.
Well.
Well,
She had a wedding ring, which means that's something. Like, if
Maybe
she
it
was
was
this
a promise
actress, was
ring.
she married to Joseph? Why wouldn't he have said that? He said they were lovers.
maybe she was a fair. Maybe it was an
was a
affair.
promise ring.
Maybe she had a
But they were
secret
going to
identity.
get married after.
She was a secret agent, and her identity was that she was married.
People still do it now.
They did do promise rings then.
Oh, God.
But it wouldn't look
Not
like a
really.
gold wedding band. I don't know. There's also, like, I saw a Reddit user saying that maybe it was suicide, this woman.
like, if that
But
makes
how did her
sense,
hand
then
get cut
she
off?
would have had
Herself in a
to
tree
cut
and
her
then
own
get-
hand
yeah.
and then stuffed herself inside of this tree and then killed herself.
And not just that, put her hand in another place and then herself.
Yeah, like, disperse the bones.
Oh wait, no, but she'd already have to be dead because she was dead when they put her in.
Yes.
Just it was before, like she had just died.
The reason
Right?
why, yes, she had just died and she was stuffed into the tree.
So she couldn't have stuffed herself if dead.
She could have stuffed herself, not if she was dead, but she could have stuffed herself prior, then killed herself. Because supposedly I saw online that there was accounts that the
Why?
boys might have stuffed the taffeta themselves into the skull's mouth.
That's true.
Because they're assholes.
Right.
But that's not proven. No one said anything if that was proven. That they stuffed it. According still to the thing that it was found in her mouth.
how much of it was there?
It was like a good chunk to choke someone.
Yeah, so that somebody choked her on it.
Right, that's the cause of death they say, but if they had, stuffed the taffeta in the skull, then what was the cause of death? They can't tell from
the
just the
manner of
bones.
death was
'cause this
homicide.
isn't an episode of Bones, Sumra, where they could tell.
This is giving me the real chilly willy.
But it could have been
Well,
suicide.
I mean, it was
what people are
assumed
saying.
homicide because her body was in a tree and her hand was somewhere else.
Yeah, it's definitely homicide. No way.
Yeah, because
Yeah, no, I don't believe that
what
either.
a way to
I
go.
mean, there is no. I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah, no. It's just, it doesn't make any sense.
My whole thing is that I feel like if the dude stuffed her into the tree, let's say the first dude, right? The guy that was like, we put the drunk girl in the tree. Why was her hand found somewhere else?
Yeah, I don't think it was that either.
Or they murdered her and pretend they put her drunk in a tree. Or they put her in a tree, someone came along, murdered her. You know what I mean? It just feels like it's a little too much. It's just like
So
by
wait,
chance
so
that
there was
all of
no
that happened.
autopsy done with her? Or, I mean...
But,
that's true, that's true. Yeah, you're right. She was dead for 2 years. That makes sense, yeah.
Well,
it was a skeleton. She was literally a skeleton, so what
There's probably
autopsy...
an autopsy on the bones.
Right,
like
and...
bones.
But
Bones wasn't actually there, so they didn't have the expertise they needed. She wasn't
1943.
alive yet.
Right.
Also, there was no DNA testing at the time, so... It was... exactly, there was no DNA, so they can't, like, trace her. Plus, there wouldn't have been any files on her if she was a secret agent. But... that being said, there's no DNA, so there's no proof to find out who this woman...
And they had no dental records?
Well, they didn't have really dental records back in the day, and if she was a secret agent, let's say there
And it was England. They didn't really, like, you know...
What are you trying to say?
They didn't really go to the dentist. Oh my god, that's amazing.
Well,
No, but actually they said her teeth were crooked and misshapen.
if she was an
and irregular.
actress, they wouldn't have
Well,
crooked teeth.
Well then.
But she was German if she was a spy. So.
It's all of Europe. It's not like they're good at it.
That's not true. It was the 40s.
Summer with her
She could
teeth.
have had irregular teeth.
Like, just like, well...
I think Summer's onto something right now.
What about this teeth? That is pretty interesting. Very, very interesting.
This is very similar to Kendrick Johnson's story, where she was
devolved
stuffed in
into
a map.
espionage because this
Yeah,
one dude
it
wrote about
literally
it.
sounds like exactly my story.
What also is weird to me is the graffiti.
Is
People
that
are
what they
saying
call
that it's
the
Clara
wood,
Bella
the
or
witch
Bella
elm
only
over there?
because of the graffiti
No, the
saying
tree.
who put Bella
The tree
in
was
the
called
witch
the
elm.
witch elm.
Okay, got you.
No, they call the tree itself is a witch elm tree. So there was graffiti that was popping up.
Summer's onto something. I agree.
Elm. Witch elm tree.
It was them Nazis.
It was a Nazi, man.
Again,
Well, no, because she was a Nazi. If that
Yes.
was theory.
Maybe the ritualistic people figured out she was a Nazi. They're like, let's sacrifice her, nobody will care.
Oh yeah.
Very
one should
possible.
care.
And it's on someone's private property. What did that person have to say about it?
It's like it's a state. It's like a
So
rich
wait, yeah,
person's
that's a good
estate.
question.
Well, maybe the rich
Shamra
person
is
was
onto
cult.
something. So it's like, wait, so they did they not question the people who owned this estate? Did they not like?
Well, I feel like so the part of the woods, the Hagley estate, belonged to Lord Cubham.
There you go.
Yep.
It was him.
Yeah.
That's him.
Okay.
Look at his name. Cubham. What the hell?
Okay, there's nothing about Lord Cubham though.
Lord Mountbatten.
I was gonna say, wouldn't you naturally think that the guy who owned the estate would probably would be the one that would try to do it?
I
ahead,
know
then.
why what. But
Yeah.
it was like, no, because there's no proof. One, there's no
Listen.
proof, and he was rich, Viscount Cubham, and it's also
all,
it
was
was on
he
his
a
it was
lawyer
on
or
his land.
account?
It was on his land, but it's like it was like
Okay.
he had a bunch of land. It was like it just maybe it was like coincidentally on his property. There's nothing to, but that being
Tell you what happened. This
That
Lord
could be
Count
very
Vince
possible.
Cubham, whatever his name is, he has a big cult, and they did this
I like it, Sarah.
ritualistic
I like it.
thing,
I like it.
and maybe stuffed a Nazi in a tree.
Yeah.
Summer, you should put your theory on Reddit, and that should be the official theory.
And they had to cut her hand off first, and and then stuff her in. That's why they stuffed her in a witch tree.
But no, he basically Gotham is saying that she was a Nazi and that people killed her out of rage.
Very
possible.
Yeah, it could have been, and then people taunting that murder was like, who put Bella in the witch elm, like trying to aggravate and like taunt, being like, haha, we killed a Nazi. But it's a very creepy way of doing it. Maybe the hand had evidence and they cut it off.
Maybe the hand was doing the Nazi salute or something, and they're like disgusted by it.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe she was. Yeah. I mean,
that's if that was her.
Right. This could have been some random woman. If that was, let's say, this prostitute or something that these guys picked up, and they just murdered her. I mean,
it's very
maybe that drove him insane because they murdered her. And like, I also think, like, why did that woman jump to sacrifice just because hand bones were scattered around?
I do.
Then why did that other dude die of pitchfork? Like, if we're going by Summer's weird theory, then maybe he was like a target of the cult of Cobham.
No, that guy was someone very, very different. Very different cases. First of all, wait, are you talking about Kendrick?
No! The dude that was killed in the town nearby with the pitchfork?
It could
Lord
all be the
Cobham.
It could all be the same thing. Maybe Cobham is just trying to say, you know, like, oh, don't let it be me. Don't let them know it's me, so do things differently.
Summer just jumped to conclusions that Lord Cobham killed 2 people as a cult just because the girl died on his property.
I think his name was Lord Cobham. Just think about it.
He wouldn't have killed her. He might have had one of his lackeys do it.
It was. That's what I'm saying. They had a cult.
It was.
His
Summer.
cult, yeah.
Summer talks as if she knows. She's like, it was. I know.
I think Summer watched all those episodes of Bones, so she knows exactly.
I think Summer's on to something.
It was very creepy.
There's an overall theme here.
Well, I guess the theme would be the theme would probably more so be people being stuffed, into things. Burritos.
Burritos?
Stuffed burritos.
Burritos. Ew.
Yeah.
I feel like this spy thing just comes up because it was during the war. That might have just been it. Like, maybe she was just a girl that was murdered and stuffed into a tree. The only reason that it's kind of weird is no one... Well, it was also during the war, so no one could really be, like there wasn't proper identification.
No one can prove otherwise.
Right, no one could step forward because it was already in chaos that, like, oh, we're missing someone.
And if they tried doing something like that, no one would step forward. Because they're going to be like, well, they're never going to find out.
Wait, no, I'm talking about, like, a family of hers, if she wasn't, like, a spy. If she was just a normal girl, like, family wouldn't know to step forward because it was just in such chaos that it wasn't organized well.
Yeah, I think she was a spy.
You think she was a spy?
Like, spies could do some weird stuff, man. Like, you don't know what they do. Like, I don't know. That's what I'm assuming.
I agree.
Yeah. Unsolved. And now on that note, follow us on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram, all at Fob and Friends, facebook.com/FobandFriends. Also check out Jaani's podcast, Nerdvana NYC. Also on Instagram, at Nerdvana
I don't know the other ones.
follow on Twitter, Nerdvana NYC. You'll find them and listen to their podcasts. They can be found on all streaming devices as well. And maybe one day.
I'm not just another podcast. I'm also the eldest brother.
The eldest.
That's true.
Of
the eldest lord.
He just was like, "Hey guys," and we were like, "Hey Johnny, do you want to come on the podcast today?" He's like, "All right," and that's how it happened.
I was like, "Hi guys," and you're like, "Oh, you want to come on? Hi." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever."
And,
I'm not a millennial like all y'all.
No,
I like how you have to point that out.
Maybe one day, Kasha, we'll go on your podcast.
Your hatred towards millennials is serious.
Patty has already invited you. Technically, Patty's a millennial, too.
So, plan out something we can talk about, and we'll go on your podcast and have a forum.
Do you guys all watch Game of Thrones? Why don't we wait till the season's over, which is soon, and have a Game of Thrones episode, too?
So,
I know you guys...
Yes. We can talk to you about that, and we can see, but that would be fun. Funsies.
Maybe we can do a special 2-hour. You watch one on ours, listen to one on ours, and one on yours.
We'll talk about this behind the scenes.
Behind curtain call.
Maz.
Wow, that was
I know. I warned everyone.
Right into the mic. You looked at the microphone. You got right in it. And you're like,
I warned prior to this episode that I'm gonna be coughing like a chain smoker.
That's a style. Just like...
All right, guys. I think on that note, we should just sign off.
All right, guys. I'll see you guys later.
See ya.
Bye.